Hi guys, very good evening. Welcome to Upshala Education Private Limited. Today we have our guest, Mr. Rutvik Acharya. So he's a data scientist and generative AI expert from Microsoft. So he's having coming to his profile. He's experienced data scientist, AI engineer, and he's analytics professional. So with a demonstrated history of building data science products and data-driven value across industries like technology, CGP, and automotive. So it's a great pleasure for us to invite Mr. Rutvik Acharya from Microsoft in order to deliver this guest lecture on exclusively on generative AI. So, what is generative AI? How it will be very useful for the data scientist? How can they develop their career as a generative AI developer? What is the scope of the generative AI? So basically, it will be very interesting session. So thank you so much, Rutvik. Uh, we welcome you all for this lecture series from Apshala team. Thank you so much. So I'll be making as a host. Yeah. So I made you as a host, Rutvik. You can join. You can share your screen if it will. Yeah, you can introduce yourself and you can proceed. Thank you so much. So I'll be muting myself. Yeah. So guys, I request everyone to mute yourself. At the end of the session, if you have any queries, you can unmute. You can talk. If you have any queries, you can use the chat window. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for the quick introduction. We have only two folks, Rajan and Syed. Guys, you can just wanted to do a quick tech check. You can hear me well and see my screen, right? You can give me confirmation.
Yes, we can hear you and we can.
Yes, we are able.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Can I get like a, before I start, just wanted to understand so that I can tailor the content accordingly. Rajan and Syed, if you can give me like a quick 30-second background. About Syed, I already heard you have a couple of years of experience, but if you can just tell me a little bit more so I can understand.
Yeah, Rutvik. Actually, I
One
have
minute,
around.
please, Rutvik. Rutvik, can you start? Can you start recording the session? I think it's recording, right?
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, Rutvik. Let me start first. So basically, I'm Rehan, and I have around 60, 70 plus year of experience into the software domain, and the last 5 years into the data science. Right, I am working as a lead consultant data science in E-Class Mumbai. And the reason I want to learn generative AI, LLM, and prompt engineering, because I want to, leverage that new technology into the field of data science. So basically, my expertise into the, supervised and unsupervised, you can say classical machine learning. Not, I did much into deep learning and NLP and computer vision and all. So this is the nutshell.
Right. So just one thing, thanks Sayed for that firstly. You said you have 16 years of experience on what?
All into the field of software domain, but the software
Software
field,
domain, mein.
software
ठीक है. And then
implementation, development, then data science.
Okay, understood. Okay. Cool. Okay, thanks, Sayed. And Rajan, if you can give me like a quick 30-second overview.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Sir, actually, I am Rajan Singh and I am born and brought up in Delhi. And I have done my graduation in BA program in 2021. And after that, I was
Rajan, your voice is cracking up.
preparing for uh,
I think your voice is not clear.
SSCs, selection, staff commission for government job.
Okay, Rajan, can I request you to put what you just said quickly in the
Yeah,
chat? I'll read it.
actually,
Thoda sa
after that, I
connection.
work with some BPOs.
Yeah, sorry, there's like a connection lag. So if you can just put it on the chat, I'll read through that. All right, let's get started. So because it's like a small group, I will not keep it very formal, or I'll not keep it a monologue. I'll talk about some of the core things about generative AI. But please, stop me, raise your hand, ask questions, tell me about your experience, right? So let's make this as interactive as possible, a session. First, let me introduce myself. We've already gotten like a quick introduction, but let me just do that formally as well. So I've been a data scientist for about 12 years now, consistently from day one of my career until today. Earlier, it was not really like a data science kind of a job. It used to be statistical modeling, not even classical ML, like what Sayed you talked about, but more like, individual models, those kind of things, and we used to work on topics like SAS. But over a period of time, the overall data science ecosystem has evolved so fast. There used to be open source tools like R that became popular for a short period of time. Then came along Python, which kind of took care of everything. And even today, Python kind of rules, and the machine learning algorithms have matured with the evolution of computing power that has become a lot stronger and so forth, right? So that's a little bit about me. I currently work with Atlassian as a senior data scientist with their customer service and support division. Uh, I used to work with Microsoft until last year. Previously, I worked with organizations like Godrej, Nielsen, and I'm located currently in Bangalore. So that's a little bit about me. If there's any questions or something, happy to talk about it. I'll keep the last few minutes just for conversation or questions. So if there are any questions, we can take questions then. Yeah, cool. Okay, so generative AI. I don't need to really introduce this in very formal terms. This is absolutely known to everybody. I am very sure all of us use at least a basic tool like ChatGPT for whatever we do, right? It could be for understanding stuff, it could be for creating new things, it could be for machine learning, building applications, right? It is like a wonderful tool. It got launched more than a year back, and that was not the first time such a tool came into existence, of course, but basically that is what kind of revolutionized and came into the public consciousness, right? Theoretically, though, how would I define generative AI, or this is more like a formal way of defining it. Generative AI, when we say it, kind of is like a set of algorithms which generate novel content, right? Uh, you have existing textbooks, you ask it to reword it, you ask it to create new scripts, new games, new applications. All of this is pretty much possible using the realm of the various large language models which we currently see. And when we say generative piece of it, it basically looks for some sort of instructions and is able to combine things to the extent which it has been trained, right? Uh, Beyond anything that it has been trained, there is limited capability. I'm not saying it is not there, but it's not very great at that either, right? So whatever it has been trained on, and Sayed, you've already mentioned you've kind of worked on data science for 5 years. So of course, you know things like training and validation and test and all of that. Whatever we have trained the models on, the output is going to be relatively good if the model fit is nice. If not, it may not throw out good results. LLMs are not very different, though there is research that goes into saying that, hey, can it even try to operate on things that it has never seen before and so forth, right? So when we talk about, let's say, analyzing existing data, more traditional and predictive ML systems like regression, classification, clustering, time series, bagging models, boosting models, right? All of these are kind of, we know what is out there. We are talking about throwing exact questions and answers, a lot of it, and then maybe taking a piece of it and saying that, hey, now can you perform on that, exactly like how we give our examinations during our school and college, right? We've been given a textbook, that's pretty much everything, right? Unless there is like a application based question, about 60, 70, 80, 90% of the things used to be the same, right? Whatever has come, we need to recirculate that as an output. So a lot of the traditional systems work like that. Generative AI, or if I specifically talk about large language models which are text based, right? Generative AI is like a wonderful term, just like machine learning is a wonderful term, right? For the practitioners, we don't really use machine learning as a tool or something like that, correct? We really use things like regression and classification, and do I use an XGBoost or whatever and stuff, right? When you talk to somebody who knows, you don't really use ML as a term, right? That's, you may still use it, but that's still a high level term. Generative AI is an equivalent term which generates a lot of interests. Okay, so when we talk about generative AI in general, even today, 80% of it is text-based, the large language models as we call it, right? We will talk a little bit about the multi-modality of stuff, but and that is becoming popular, but it is still a lot compute intensive. There is still not a good model that kind of combines a lot of text, and then if it wants to explain things, like for example, if you ask Chat GPT, explain machine learning to me like I am a 5-year-old, right? It will do a wonderful job at doing that. Okay, but if you say that give me a lot of pictures as well so that I can visually understand, there are no good models that are out there which can combine a lot of different modalities. So a lot of it is still large language models. It's basically a powerful type of AI. And again, AI is like a very broad category powered by deep learning algorithms. We'll talk a little bit about those as well, that can generate new data. It can be text, audio, video, photos, right? And it adapts to the user request. This is important. There are things that are out there. There are things that you want to make. Every time you want something to do with programming, at least until an year or so back when ChatGPT was not very popular, the first result tends to be Stack Overflow, right? If it's anything programming, that's where every person who used to do programming used to go. There used to be questions, there used to be answers, and then you will understand exactly, you will find something that is exactly what you're looking for, approximately what you're looking for, and then you will adapt that. Generative AI takes that away, so that I want to do that. This is my data. It will give you exactly the code that needs to be prepared for that. So it kind of mashes it up, but the foundation level still remains a lot of transformer-based models, something like what Google had created in 2017. Attention is all you need kind of models, right? So there are multiple other algorithms as well, frameworks as well, which kind of help these models. Of course, we'll not go into the details of them, but just like it is important at some level. So there are two things we need to understand if you want to really learn generative AI. Just like it is not important to learn all the mathematics and all the reasoning behind the machine learning algorithms. It's, I would kind of argue, almost impossible to do it, right? And if you start going from scratch and learn all of that, and only then you feel you are qualified enough to implement all of that, you are going to lose motivation very quickly, right? Because it's a lot. So what you do is that you go ahead and execute something, and then you go back and understand what has really happened. Generative AI works pretty much the same way. Necessarily no need initially to get into some sort of, so generative pre-trained transformer is what Chat GPT stands for, right? But this is not just what OpenAI models uses. A lot of different open source models or Anthropic or Google models like Gemini use, they all kind of provide a similar architecture or something that is very competitive in nature, right? Now, that's a lot of mathematics that researchers do. A lot of people have been successful in creating that into algorithms which are kind of powering these LLMs. Okay, but my suggestion is, let us understand, just like in machine learning and data science, it is important to understand two things: enough of theory, but a lot of orchestration. What are the tools? What are the models? how do you evaluate something, how do you make changes if need be, right? Generative AI kind of works the same way. When you will be building applications using this technology, it is eventually good to have an understanding of how do these transformer frameworks work, what is multi-headed attention, what is an encoder only, what is a decoder only, what are RNNs, are there specific models that can be built using all of that. But do not get under the impression or do not get into think that I need to learn a lot of background about it. If that is what your interest is, follow that independently. When I say that, do not confuse yourself as somebody who can do all the things independently. It's a fast space. It is something that is happening as we talk about it. Every single day, every single week, you might observe a new model which claims to be state of the art on certain benchmarks and all of that has been launched. So it's a lot of things that's going on. I would kind of argue that focus on being a practitioner rather than being a research scientist, unless, of course, that's where your interest lies. I'll complete this slide and I'll stop for questions. A few terminologies that should be very clear when you understand generative AI. Think of AI as the absolute big subset, right? Intelligent agents that can be utilized for generating stuff, reasoning, learning, autonomous action, right? So forth. Machine learning should be thought of as an independent entity, but very much within the space of AI, right? It is basically learning from data. What is learning from data? What is machine learning in general? At least the supervised part is simply looking or throwing a lot of historical data to algorithms and hope that it learns or find patterns, and then when exposed to something similar without a lot of background data, it will be able to predict it. For example, uh, if it's a month of August, if it's evening, if it's black clouds, chances are that in your mind the thought will be that it's going to rain. But nobody has really taught us that. Since our birth, we have seen that these set of conditions leads to rain, isn't it? So machine learning is pretty much the same, right? We give a lot of questions and answers. This happens, and because of that, there's a lot of causation that we kind of try and figure out. A lot of advanced models like Cat Boost and XGBoost and some of the very popular ones. These models have become popular, and especially if you guys already are having some exposure on machine learning at least, it's not as if boosting kind of architectures are new. They were around since last 3 or 4 decades. But it's only that the compute became accessible that it can handle such big architectures, right? So AI is kind of very similar in nature. The kind of data that it needs to learn from, trained, that kind of infra that is needed, the kind of storage, the kind of compute, the kind of frameworks, that is something that has happened only in the last 5 or 10 years, right? And it is that chat GPT model which has made it so simple that learn from it. Everything that we talked about here, especially on the AI side of things, is still powered by what we typically call as deep learning, right? All your neural network stuff, all your CNNs and RNNs, basically these are, still quite a bit in use in order to power all of these AI tools. Okay, so DL plus ML, right? And people who are practitioners should very clearly know that ML is not equal to DL, right? Machine learning kind of algorithms are best suited for tabular data structures, rows and columns, right? Things that are very clear, but things that are more text, things that are images, videos, all of that, audio, in fact, right? All of these are kind of best done by deep learning. Okay. And then all of these kind of come together to generate the Gen AI models as we know it. Okay, so language models is generally the basis of it. ChatGPT, GPT 3.5 and 4 are predominantly your text kind of models. Yes, there is DALE and all of that. And if you guys have not seen any of those models, I can give a sneak peek. But basically, these are kind of the predominant models that are utilized currently. Okay. So 1, 2, 3 kind of powers your generative models at this point in time. All right. Before I go ahead, I'll stop to see if there are any questions, any comments. Rajan, Sayed, all good?
So, Ritvik, actually, my basic question is that whether I can leverage the GenAI, LLM, or prompt engineering into the field of supervised machine learning. Basically, I came from the retail industry where I used to do forecasting, classification, and customer segmentation and this type of thing. So basically, my focus is that I can build a model where I can feed the data, and I can train the multiple model from which data, and I have to choose the best one, the model, and definitely I will go forward with the best model.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my question.
Yeah, what you're saying is that in traditional ML kind of problems, can we really utilize GenAI?
GenAI, right?
I think it depends. My sense, Sayed, would be, and this is completely basis my experience. Uh, if the data is kind of tabular, okay, like you're dealing with numbers, you're doing a regression, you're doing a forecasting, you're doing classification, for example. I think unless you're dealing with text, the kind of impact that these kind of large language models can have is going to be limited. Okay. Uh, because they don't really help you create new architectures or algorithms or anything. What it can help, and this is what my feeling is, so I'll talk about two different scenarios. First is it makes my traditional ML algorithm creation a lot more faster. Uh, Basically, I utilize these models to generate code for me. Okay, I can use it to brainstorm a lot of things. I know that I want to create Sayed. I'll use PyCaret for example, right? That should give me all the models in one go, right? You may already have experience with that. The question, however, is if there are newer architectures, newer problems, newer ways in which we want to solve something. I think generative AI, you can bounce off ideas, get from POC to production, or get from 0 to 1 in a much faster fashion. That's one. Second, I'll talk about if you are dealing with any sort of, let's say, text classification, topic modeling, NLP kind of stuff in general, then it's a completely different world. Yes, generative AI, transformers, BERT, Hugging Face models, and all of that. They kind of integration of all of this, it's a completely different ballgame. If earlier using, let's say, LDA for topic modeling, you used to get some kind of an output. You used to be good with, let's say, a word cloud or an ngram and semantic search and all of it. Generative AI on text kind of models will up your game like anything. So in those cases, definitely yes. Does that make sense? Sayed, if you're saying something, I cannot hear you. Okay. If there's something, Sayed, maybe just check the connection or maybe put it on the chat if there's some issue. All right. I'll talk a little bit about the modality in the meanwhile. So there are many types of generative models. The most popular one is text to text, right? You give it a command, you want to know something, you want to generate something. Models like GPT, Llama, which is the open source by Facebook and all of it, it kind of generates, it takes an input as a text and the output is also a text. Right? But what is some of the other modalities that are available? One of it is text to image. Right? You can look at unless you are utilizing something that's so let's take okay, so DALI is kind of built in. You can generate image of India in animated fashion, right? So it takes the input as text, but we are going to get output as an image, right? It will take a while. Usually, image creation is not as simple as generating text, but and you can keep on refining it, right? So that is what we mean by modality. Text is a modality, so is an image, audio, video, speech, right? So there are various different models. There is varying levels of efficacies of these models, but in general the way that we should understand this is we are the best with this. Either it is open source models or closed source models like OpenAI, but we are kind of good with text to image. It is still not perfect. There are no state of the art models that can understand everything and create exactly what you need. It's not something that's you know, pretty much solved, but yes, things are getting significantly better. Text to audio, this is like a relatively simpler one. It's like transcription. Text to video, we are struggling. And again, you can go back to that conversation of why did boosting kind of models or why did LLMs kind of become famous only in the last few years or decade or so, right? It is only because the compute or the framework that is needed is something that is happening only now, or it has happened in the last decade or so. Why is Nvidia $1 trillion company now? Right? It just makes chips. It's pretty much because those kind of demand for GPUs, which enable such high compute use cases, is very much in demand these days, right? So I would say that we are best with the initial one or two. The rest is kind of gray area, becoming better with the kind of interest that people generally have. That's the modality part of it. Any questions here before I move on? All right. Let us look at some examples. A lot of this is. Let us look at some examples. Okay? Part of this is theoretical. So, and this is again Sayed, Rajan, the discussion that you were having at the beginning. The applications are a lot, especially if your information is text. If it's numbers and all of that, you can still ask ChatGPT to analyze it, but the results may not be very different from what you would do with your traditional algorithms. But you can do things like question and answering. So, for example, you can have a enhanced customer support. This has always been a problem, whether it is Zomato or a bank or anything else for us. Right? What we typically would like to do is have very pointed information, answers that are catered to what we ask and not just what the document tells us and so forth. What you see on the screen is one example of documents of Ikigai, which is like a SaaS company. Right? You can ask a little bit about what are your offerings. This is a POC, mind you, but keep in mind that it has given all the documentation of what Ikigai is as a company, and then you can pretty much figure it out. If you are a potential customer or an existing customer, a lot of the kind of answers that you can have are pretty much very easy, and it is tailored to what you really need, right? So you go and ask the Ikigai chatbot. This is something that you can easily port to your main website, right? If you ask it, what are your offerings? It says it helps modern analysts do blah, 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 whatever it is. Right? Is there any pricing information you can help with? Okay. If it does not, it clearly tells us that it does not have this information and all of it. You can reach out to the team and stuff. But you see what's happening over here. There is a large language model. you have fed it your specific documents, and you are able to leverage both of this together in order to get the outcome, right? You can utilize any specific model. It is freely available on Hugging Face, which is like the biggest hub for uh, all of these kind of models, the AI models. You can specify if you want an output that is very creative or something that's very specific, blah blah blah, right? So in general, what is it that we are trying to say is that simple things like question and answer for customer support, or if you have a book, we have traditionally learned through books, right? We have a textbook for every particular subject, and we would then get an answer to it. If the book is entirely fed to an algorithm, right, or an LLM like this what you are seeing is completely free, by the way. Okay, there is nothing that is necessarily different, or you're paying for nothing. Hugging Face provides a complete infrastructure in this case. Okay, so if you can feed your books in, you're going to get an output that is extremely relevant to what you want. So that's number two. You can look at examples of automatic summarization. This is something that Amazon has done very well. If you look at any particular product, this is like a microphone. Typically, what we used to do whenever you want to book a hotel or go to a restaurant or on an online e-commerce website, buy any product, you could observe there are tons of reviews, or maybe there are too few reviews, and you are going to need to make a decision you want to go for that product or service or not, right? Now, it becomes very easy for large language models to go through maybe 5,000 comments, look at what works well, what does not work well, and provide a quick summary. You see how many different summaries you would need to go into, and you still can, right? So that's still available to us. But it kind of provides a short summary. What is it that people are saying are good things about the product, bad things about the product, and of course you have like specific basic analytics like how what is the rating of the product and so forth, right? So there's a lot of information that can be summarized, saves time, provides a good experience to the customer, win-win for everybody. Let's look at a sentiment analysis example. Again, you can build something like this. You have a lot of your reviews. If let's say you are a hotel, you might have reviews on Trivago and Google and Make My Trip and stuff like that. Okay, maybe you can simply create a simple sentiment analysis. Sayed, this is what I was talking about. NLP and text kind of use cases become a lot more powerful with large language models.
Yeah.
Say uh, amazing. So say you're saying something. Go.
Am I audible?
I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. ठीक है. So go on.
Right. So if we have reviews, we can simply pass it through, get an understanding how we are looking at stuff. So we can say, seems like a positive review with a certain level of confidence, and we are saying that hey, seems like a positive review or a negative review, or whatever it is. So we can enable applications like this, which make it a lot easier for us. Topic modeling, of course, is trying to figure out a lot of different topics, right? I'll give one example. This is something that's extremely good. So you can utilize all of this. So this is basically going to look at a bunch of text that you have. Try to figure out what is this is traditional NLP, right? By the way, so there is a use case that LLMs can definitely help us. We can basically try to figure out what are the themes. Earlier, LDA used to be the best that we can do, but now there are like a lot more powerful things that we can do with it. If we look at the representation, visualizations, but yeah, I can just show you some visualizations and stuff. This is basically all of your documents, right? You can create visualizations. A lot of people are talking about how good the room is, but how bad the location is of a particular hotel. The prices are too high, right? Stuff like that. So it enables a lot of different use cases for us, right? So that's essentially what we are going to get leverage from the powerful transformers based models and then integrating large language models to get a right output from that. Okay, you can go to things like Perplexity. So just like there is Chat GPT and Anthropic and so many of those models, this is an amazing tool that is built by uh, you know Perplexity. Of course, it's the company, but it's an Indian guy who's built it. Google always tells us what you ask it something, it will try to find information from some websites, but it is still up to you and me to make sense of it, if it is relevant or not. Here, you get the specific answer, you get the sources from which it has specified all of this. You can find some related answers, right? It provides information in a way that's so easily consumable, right? So, what are the betting odds? So, it will give you an answer, but it will also give you the right sources. Do you trust them? Do you not trust them? And stuff like that. So, there's a lot of models like Perplexity which can help with search. So it is still what Google does, but the interface or the serving piece is a lot better, right? And all of these things that I'm talking about, please keep in mind, it is not as if I'm talking about, hey, people are doing great things. All of these things are something that you, if you choose to get into the generative AI LLM side of things, should be very much possible. There are frameworks that make it really simple to do all of different things. Maybe I'm saying too simple in a sense that it is possible for an average person to do. Yes, of course, there will be some time and effort that will be necessary, but it's not something that companies are building. It's something that you and I, as people who are interested, can also get into. Machine translation and all of that. Yes. Okay. What is the infrastructure? Basically, what you need is people who can provide you the platforms for this. So Hugging Face is one of the biggest and the best options that you have. A lot of free options you can create, used utilizing Streamlit. What are the various UIs that are possible? But Cohere is an LLM, OpenAI, of course, Anthropic, right? So this is basically the ecosystem that you are kind of looking at. What are the skill sets that are necessary for it? I talked a little bit about deep learning models. So, an understanding of this is necessary. You don't need to be an expert or mathematically oriented in order to get into this. The key architectures of deep learning are, of course, CNNs, RNNs, LSTMs, transformers. Right. So, all of these things are very good. Sayed, you raised your hand.
Yeah, Ritvik. So basically, with the help of deep learning, uh, I can replace the classical machine learning, if I'm talking about the time series forecasting. So there is a lots of classical model like Arima, Sarima, but I can use the GenAI in deep learning, and I can forecast.
Yeah, that's
Is
right.
it?
LSTMs and all of this that you see, like long
Yeah,
short-term memory,
yeah, LSTM is a
definitely,
forecasting.
definitely that can do much better. I would not argue all the time much better. You also know that it depends on the data set, but yeah, they're reasonably powerful.
Basically, where clients ask that they need some white box solution, then the classical machine learning is the only option. When client doesn't bother about the whether it is black box or white box solution, LSTM or is always good. Right,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, there's somebody at the door, guys. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Sorry.
So anyone from Apshala?
Huh?
Yeah, hi, Rehan.
Can I know with whom I am interacting from Acharya?
Samir, Rehan,
Acha,
Samir.
Samir itself. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, sorry. Yeah. All right, let me show you one. This is something I'll give you guys in the chat as well. Please go through it. It is basically, so what is Streamlit? It's a UI that is very easy to build. As data scientists, we need to rely typically on uh, UI, UX kind of skill sets in order to those teams in order to help us do this. But Streamlit, Gradio, these are very powerful tools which you can use for any machine learning algorithm that you've created. This is just like a survey which tells us about the ecosystem that exists around large language models. It could be the large language models itself. Where do you run it? Embeddings. Who is going to give you the right GPUs in order to fine tune your modules, right? So all of these are basically, it's a very good report. Please go through this. So it will tell you what kind of use cases and this entire ecosystem end to end, if we talk about, right? Where do you run it? What's the UI? What's the LLM? What's the embedding? Are you utilizing some external sources? What is it that is being utilized, right? So which tools are being used? Which are some of the top players? What are the top orchestration tools? What are the vector retrieval? It's basically text becomes vectors or embeddings. So that's basically multiple different players that give you that. Do people use chatbots or do they integrate LLMs into their use cases? And there is like a very good example that you will see of uh, these actual apps that people have created. Right? So you'll find everything about it, whatever is the architecture and stuff like that. So while I explain all of this, my suggestion is even after this class, use this as, if you are kind of new to generative AI, this is extremely simple and covers comprehensively the kind of various moving parts within generative AI that people are utilizing. And this, I can tell you, being a data scientist, I was never good with core programming. I was never good with UI. Okay. But what these tools together, paid as well as free, have done is that they have made it democratized for everybody. With some level of effort, people who are data scientists or willing to get into data science can leverage AI as well, considering the kind of growth that is happening in this, and people are eventually going to move into AI kind of use cases. So yeah, yes.
So yeah, Rutvik, you are saying that with the help of the Streamlit, uh, as as for now, I know that the Streamlit is designed for the front end only. So
Absolutely, yeah.
you are saying that I can train the model with the help of the Streamlit as well.
No. On Streamlit here, there is just a report which tells us about the state of LLM or uh, what kind of infra models, everything that people are using. It is only a front end tool.
It is showing
But
just
you can,
like of some dashboard type or reporting type.
yes, but what I'm saying is, what you are seeing here is how the generative AI ecosystem is.
Okay.
So I don't want you to like focus on Streamlit. I want you to focus on the various moving parts that this report talks about. Basically.
So basically, you selected the top model. The top model right now is creating with the help of OpenAI. You want to say that 70%,
Exactly.
73% uses
Yes.
GPT model.
So when you are going to create something, at least if you know what are the players,
Hmm.
uh, if you see proprietary versus open source, see, this is very important, right? If you want to test out something, Rihan, I'll tell you about myself. I don't want to pay OpenAI for utilizing their API all the time. It's
Yeah.
GPT-4 is expensive also,
Hmm.
right? I'll just go to Hugging Face and use one of their best models, which are available for free. Right? So
Right. Select open source model.
that's
Proprietary means paid model, right?
absolutely closed source. All right, so that's a couple of things. And then there is, of course, the orchestration piece of it. That happens a lot through, I mean, the tooling is all based on Python pretty much. In general, the biggest frameworks are TensorFlow and PyTorch, which are all your deep learning kind of capabilities. You can utilize Jupyter notebooks, basically Python or Scala or something if you prefer. But yeah, Python is by far the biggest uh, prototyping tool that you have. Deployment happens freely on Hugging Face for a lot of things. Streamlit Cloud is also available, and then there are cloud services that offer a very decent free tier, especially the bigger ones, the triad of Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So all of these are there. So that's basically your skill set. You need to know LLMs. You need to know on what tool do you make these happen. You need to know what are some of the free tools that are available as well. If it's for your personal learning or even organizations, they might want to see a proof of concept every time, right? If you're an organization, you know, you've heard of POCs 1,000 times. Create a POC, create a POC. You don't want to pay, maybe if you're in a professional capacity, you'll anyways not be utilizing your personal stuff, right? So it's better to utilize all of these or know that these options exist. Uh, Roles, research scientists. So basically all the innovation and research that happens in AI. But the core of it is these people, your machine learning or AI engineers, where people who apply these models to solve real world problems. Practitioners is where the sweet spot is, I would say. Data scientists, right? People who kind of utilize all of these frameworks in order to analyze the data and utilize it for multiple different use cases. Product managers is it's like a generic role in general, but with AI again, it is good to have knowledge like this. I work in an organization where people who had no experience, no understanding, but they were good product managers. They need to understand if you're creating a new product, what are the various technologies, free, uh, what's the entire ecosystem looking like, and so forth. So that's basically product managers. Again, there is a good demand for people who understand a lot of IT and software and data science, and they can kind of help the practitioners or the teams execute on that. There's of course a deployment people, the DevOps, that is extremely important, and eventually there'll be people who will give you what needs to be done or uh, push the envelope, so to say. So that's basically the roles that you can also look at. All right, I'll stop here. If there are questions.
Yeah, Ritvik. So basically, right now I'm a data scientist learning AI, Gen AI, LLM model to get the leverage of the best uh, to get the best about the data science. But parallelly, I am learning the tools of the product management as well, and I am enrolled somewhere for the product management as well. So basically, how can I combine last first three skill set like machine learning engineer, data scientist, and product manager?
Yeah, firstly, good question. So principles or the foundation of product manager Sayed does not change, right? It is meant to adapt to whatever it is, whether it is developing software or creating data science models or creating AI applications. The principles are still the same, that who are you catering to, how is it that you track it, what is your audience, right? So I would say that if you know about data science plus, let's say, AI over a period of time, the same principles of product management are going to be utilized. There's not going to be a lot of change there. It's about integrating this knowledge to that.
Basically, the principle of product management, writing the PRDs and creating the telemetrics and all.
When you write PRDs, you need to know the specifications and stuff. So
Specification of the.
if you don't know high level these things, and this chart is, and again, it's probably 3 months old and that's very old in AI sense. But the long story short, what I'm trying to say is that what are the moving parts? What do you need in all of that, right? So uh, yes, that specification at a high level at least is something that if you're interested to get into product management for AI, that would be incredibly useful.
So what I learned so far that machine learning engineers is mainly for the data part. I mean the cloud engineers basically. So
Yeah,
is there any difference?
it depends. Like for example, so firstly, not everybody defines it in the same way. So the way that I would define it might be different. But the way I'll tell you about broadly what I've seen at Microsoft and at Atlassian now is that ML engineers are the people who come after we are done with our work as a data scientist,
Right.
right? If you talk about somebody who is a full stack data scientist,
Mm.
that would potentially be I mean, that's like a role which is data science plus an MLE. They take that model as an output. They know how to create pipelines. They know how to serve it to various different systems. They know how to ensure model monitoring, data drift, distribution drift, and all of that. So that's what pure ML engineers do. And the same things would work for in the AI setup as well. Uh, how are we monitoring in terms of latency, for example? What's the quality of the outputs that we are getting?
All
And
right.
various things.
Thanks, Rutvik.
Rajan, any question?
So
All right.
Rutvik, basically,
Huh.
yeah, actually, I am not very, very technical guy in the field of data science. Basically, I recruited as a data scientist, but nowadays,
Yeah.
my around 3 and 4 years of data science goes into the Excel only. They hired as a data scientist, but they don't have any tool related to data science. So they mostly work in the into Excel, and I have to play with the with Excel only. The last 1 year in eClerks, I get the real time exposure of the data science model. But exactly, I'm not very technical guy, so that's why I want to leverage the GenAI LLM model prompt engineering into the data science field. So basically, my experience into the retail from the retail industry, like whatever the analytics and data science used into the field of retail industry. So my concern is that whether I can use the GenAI into the field of classical machine learning, where data is into the RDBMS form, and I can build the model with the help of these new tools and technologies, and I can build and I can build, train, deploy the model. This type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think makes sense. In general, I would say a traditional tabular data kind of a thing is not going to be very impacted by uh, Gen AI, any of Gen AI. It at best it can, like for example, you would already know that GPT-4 can take a database, a CSV or whatever you throw it in, and then it can run a lot of algorithms and analyze it. It's going to be automated fashion, right? So that can be done, but that you understand, it's not um, like making it significantly better. It is automating it, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if it is like just numbers and categorical variable and stuff that you are utilizing, uh, by itself Gen AI does not impact that, like almost does not. It just makes the prototyping very easy. But when we talk about NLP or deep learning, that's a different ballgame. There it will have a lot of impact. So if you're interested, and I understand what you mean, there was a time when I was not too technical. At least I was in a role that was like, just following the process and doing a lot of Excel and PowerPoint. I also used to feel that I can do these things, but I cannot do a lot of technical things. My sense is, if I mean, firstly, that's perfectly okay. There's demand for all these kind of roles as well. I would possibly only suggest one thing is that do a few things hands on and see the possibilities. Because then, if you want to get into, say, product management or somebody who is a consultant in the field of AI plus data science, that can be incredibly powerful. Knowing what can be impacted, what cannot be, and if it can be impacted, what can we do about it? Like, I'll give one small example. I'm working as, it's for a friend, but I'm working as a consultant for one of the small startups. What they are doing is creating like a medical this thing. They upload all the prescriptions and all the lab reports and all of that, and give you intelligence based on that. Right now, uh, LLMs hallucinate, which is a big problem, uh, right? And then it does not give you the space, same format of the answers because of stochasticity. What I helped them do was to tone it down, saying that you don't want like a free output from an LLM. You need to constrain it. You need output which is a number or a yes or no or a short description. How do you constrain it using some techniques and all of that? So the point I'm trying to make is, in order to make all of these things usable, there's still a lot of ecosystem that's getting developed. So if you even observe, I'll give you one website, Sayed, maybe you can just go through that to take ideas, right? I don't necessarily want you to go into the technicalities if you don't like that, but just to understand how broad the ecosystem is, just see what are the use cases. That will spark an understanding of what is possible and where do you want to go.
Okay. So, but at least I can throw the data into the GPT-4 and I can say that please write the code for the forecasting. These are the dependent and these are the independent variables.
Oh, definitely.
So at least I can get the code now.
Oh, definitely you can. I mean, सब कुछ मिल जाता है सही है. Like you cannot believe. मैं जो काम एक हफ्ते में करता था, I can now do it in one day.
One day, right?
Yeah.
So very nice to meet you, Rutvik, and hope we will meet in future as well here in this
Yeah.
Apshana.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Sayed. I hope it was helpful.
Very much.
Thanks.
At
Thank you
least
so much, Rutvik. Really, we enjoyed the session. Thank you so much for your guest series on generative AI. So the students got most of the stuff, how to build their career as a generative AI. What is generative AI? So what are the possibilities, in this field of AI? Thank you so much, Rutvik. Thank you so much, students. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.